America is reaching a breaking point. Across the country, people are watching crime spiral out of control, trust in the justice system collapse, and political elites play by rules the rest of us could never get away with. For years, federal agencies were supposed to protect rights, but now they stand accused of being weaponized against ordinary citizens. Families are worried about safety in their own neighborhoods, while politicians argue in Washington and turn a blind eye. From California to Tennessee, voters have sent a loud message. They're tired of double standards, tired of chaos, and tired of leaders who refuse to listen. But here's the question nobody wants to answer: what happens when the very system designed to keep order becomes the source of disorder?
Ms. Bondi, I know that you are pleased that we are moving to the end of round one. And we appreciate your being here. And I appreciate that you told my California colleagues you were willing to work with them, even in light of the manner in which they have approached you. Now, one thing I think we need to have everybody understand that is watching this hearing today, and everyone sitting in here, what we have witnessed over the last 4 years with a weaponized DOJ. My colleagues have talked about this, and the American people know this. They know what was carried out against President Trump and his administration, and in November, they voted to see an end to 2 tiers of justice, 2 tiers of treatment, 2 tiers of access, because they have absolutely had it with the lies, with the accusations, and with the attacks that have come against so many people who were just seeking to live their lives, and then all of a sudden found the FBI or another federal agency or the DOJ knocking at their door. You know, Ms. Bondi, it would make you believe that my colleagues have learned nothing from the elections in November. They don't see this as a movie script that someone may have liked to write. What they see is this is real life. And they want a restoration to equal justice, equal access, equal treatment, abiding by the rule of law. Many of us have talked today about making America safe again. And in Tennessee, I hear a good bit about this. And as we've discussed your nomination, one of the things I've mentioned to people is your career as a prosecutor. And you have touched on that some today. And you are bringing that insight of being a prosecutor to bear. And I do appreciate that. Now, one thing that I think is noteworthy, and in preparation for the hearing, I looked some of these numbers up. During President Trump's first term, violent crime in this country actually fell. Yes. It fell by 17%. And in the first 2 years of the Biden administration, it soared by 43%. This is crime that is taking place in all of our communities. We've seen a rise, whether it's California or Tennessee. We have seen a rise. So I want you to talk to Tennesseans, to Californians, to all Americans about what you're going to do to get this crime rate down in this country.
Senator, thank you for that question. And despite the questions from Senator Schiff, I look forward to working with you and the state of California to do everything we can to fight violent crime in California. And you know as well as I, that crime is only going to go through the roof now after these forest fires. You're going to have looting. You're going to have price gouging. You're going to have so many things that I have dealt with in the state of Florida, and I am committed to working with California just as much as I am committed to working with you, Senator Kennedy, in the tragedy that just took place in Louisiana, given all the human beings that were murdered in your state. And we have the Super Bowl coming up in less than 3 weeks now, I believe, Senator. I've been a little busy. But we've got to ensure, if I'm confirmed, that everyone in this country is safe. And I will work with you. I will work with you, Senator. I will work with all of you in this country. For everything that Senator Blackburn said, we have got to reduce violent crime, and we have got to restore integrity to our law enforcement officers. Donald Trump, we keep saying he won this election by 77.3 million votes and 312 electoral votes. Look at the map of California, Senator Schiff. It's bright red, the popular vote, for a reason. People want law and order. They want to be safe so they can go to take their children to school, so they can go to church, Senator Hawley. People want safe streets. Of course we care about our economy and what's happening in this world, but if we're not safe, none of that works. We have got to come together. We have got to work together to make America safe again, and that in turn will make America great again, and I don't know where that phrase has become a bad word, because I think...
Stay tuned, because the truth is far more explosive than you think. The frustration people feel isn't just about politics, it's about fairness. For years now, Americans have seen one set of rules for the powerful and another set for everyone else. The term two-tiered justice isn't just a catchphrase, it's a lived reality. Some individuals can skate by with influence and connections, while everyday people face the full weight of the law for far less. That sense of unequal treatment exploded during the last election cycle, when millions of voters showed up not just to vote for a party but to vote against a system they no longer trust. They wanted accountability. They wanted the lies, the endless accusations, and the selective prosecutions to stop. And when leaders ignored those demands, the resentment only deepened. People aren't asking for special treatment, they're demanding equal justice. And the louder Washington pretends not to hear it, the louder that backlash will grow. Nowhere is that frustration felt more than in the streets of America's cities and towns. Violent crime has surged in recent years, leaving families on edge. The numbers don't lie. Under the Biden administration, violent crime shot up by 43% in just the first 2 years. Compare that to President Trump's first term, when reports claimed it actually dropped significantly. These aren't abstract statistics, they represent real people who were assaulted, robbed, or worse. From the busy streets of California to small towns in Tennessee, ordinary families are dealing with break-ins, carjackings, and violence that was once unthinkable in their neighborhoods. And while crime spikes, Washington continues to fight over political talking points instead of real solutions. When leadership gets soft on crime, criminals get bold. And Americans are now paying the price for that weakness. But that's only part of the story, because the danger doesn't stop with ordinary times. When disasters hit, the situation grows even more dangerous. Natural disasters aren't just about rebuilding homes, they open the door to chaos. Looting, price gouging, and violent crime often surge in the aftermath. Florida saw it after the wildfires. Louisiana has dealt with it after hurricanes. California faces it with wildfires and earthquakes. When institutions fail to prepare, ordinary people are left fending for themselves. That's why cooperation between states is critical. Because criminals don't stop at state borders, and lawlessness spreads fast when people know there's no plan in place. Disasters reveal more than weaknesses in infrastructure, they expose weaknesses in leadership. And if leaders can't secure communities when they're most vulnerable, then everything else they promise is meaningless. Still, natural disasters are just one piece of a much bigger failure. Even in times of calm, many Americans feel their own government has turned against them. Families who never broke the law suddenly found federal agencies at their doors, accused of things they didn't even understand. The perception is clear: political opponents get targeted while others are shielded. That's not equal justice, that's selective enforcement. And when people lose faith in fairness, the entire system begins to unravel. Law should be about protecting the people, not scoring political points. No more secret deals, no more hidden agendas. The law has to be enforced evenly or it means nothing at all, and yet the failures go deeper still because if even the judges themselves aren't safe, how can anyone expect the courts to stay fair? The protests outside the homes of Supreme Court justices after the Roe v. Wade decision highlight just how fragile the system has become. Section 1507 of U.S. law makes it clear protesting outside a judge's residence with intent to influence their decisions is illegal. Yet when crowds gathered outside justices' homes shouting threats and promises of riots, the Department of Justice failed to act. Not one single charge was filed under that law. Judges who are supposed to remain impartial ended up living under intimidation, their families exposed to fear. That's not free speech, that's harassment. And if left unchecked, it creates a dangerous precedent where rulings are shaped not by the Constitution but by who can shout the loudest outside a private home. The judicial system can't function under that kind of pressure. If judges fear for their safety, justice collapses, and with it the last thread of trust Americans still hold. The bigger picture is sobering. This isn't about left versus right or red versus blue, it's about survival. People just want to walk down the street without being mugged. They want their kids to get to school safely. They want to go to church without worrying about violence. None of this is extreme, it's the most basic expectation of government safety. And yet somehow that most basic duty is being neglected. As one senator bluntly said, if we're not safe, nothing else works. Not the economy, not education, not healthcare. Safety comes first, and without it everything else falls apart. The American people are not asking for miracles. They're asking for leaders to remember that their first obligation is to protect law-abiding citizens, and until that happens, trust will keep collapsing. The choice America faces now is stark. Continue down the path of rising crime, selective enforcement and political games, or demand accountability, equal justice and real safety. People want order, not chaos. They want fairness, not favoritism. They want to believe again that the law means what it says and applies to everyone, no matter their status, party or connections. Until leaders take that seriously, anger will only rise, trust will only fall, and America's foundation will continue to crack. The truth is simple: restoring safety and equal justice isn't a partisan issue, it's a survival issue. And it starts by demanding better from the very institutions that have let so many people down. So what do you think? Are Americans right to feel betrayed by a system that seems more interested in politics than justice? Let us know in the comments, and if you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because the next one is even more controversial.